In 1844, the Joe Daviess County Sheriff's Office went into effect to provide security and protection to Joe Daviess County. Today and throughout history, the Sheriff's Office has gone to great lengths of service to protect our county. Besides the office of sheriff itself having a history dating back to 1215, Joe Daviess County has a unique history with its county courthouse and its tragic but colorful sheriffs. Please join us as we investigate the history of the Joe Daviess County Sheriff's Office. The history of the word sheriff began in England during the time of the Anglo-Saxons from the 5th century. Later in time, these people would be known as a shire. This later formed into a community called a county. The leader of a shire would be a powerful leader known as a shire reeve. Later on, this would be a modern word we've known as the word sheriff. The word sheriff meant people were responsible for keeping control of their county's law and order. The sheriff would control the county and had power of their own county. In 1215, King John had signed the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta had a part referring to the role of a sheriff, stating how important a sheriff was for the county. Since then, the term sheriff has lasted as the leading law enforcement officer of a county. When England came to North America to colonize, they brought the way of keeping control of people by sheriffs. When building the New World, they continued the roles of a sheriff as they did in Europe, consisting of tax collecting and law enforcement. The authority of supervising the jails and workhouses was also added to the new jobs. America to this day continues to use sheriffs in their law enforcement. The courthouse of Joe Daviess County is located in the town of Galena, Illinois, 330 North Bench Street. In 1838, John L. Slaymaker and Samuel Mazzucchelli made sure the construction and architectural work was all in place. In 1844, the construction of the courthouse started and was completed in the year of 1847. The beautiful courthouse was designed, constructed, and finished in 3 years. In the early 1900s, a new addition was added to the front of the building. It was determined that the old portico was falling apart. A 3-story addition with a 90-foot tower would be added to the front. The center of the building was a story higher than the 2 side wings. The total cost was $15,492.80. The new addition was a hit by local residents. Contemporary sources exclaimed, quote, "Quite imposing, a thing of beauty, a vast improvement, a very handsome appearance, and the design is very attractive."
Probably the thing with the courthouse, the earliest part of the courthouse, I believe, dates back to the 1830s. Then there's been a couple additions onto the courthouse. The jail here was built in 1975, so behind the jail here is the old jail.
Recently, there was a new sidewalk, curb, and gutter added, along with a railing in the parking lot. In the future, there will be more improvements to the building. Having a woman in the sheriff's office helps in many family problems. This quote was from the first female sheriff of Joe Daviess County, Emma Grebner. Her husband, Lawrence Grebner, was a sheriff before her. While he was sheriff, Emma Grebner was chief deputy. Emma also had her husband as chief deputy when she was county sheriff.
Her and her husband were sheriffs. You could only be sheriff for one term, and then somebody else would have to be sheriff. So her and her husband used to take turns who was the sheriff. They used to call her Edna Two Guns Grebner.
In the primaries to be elected sheriff, Emma started as a Republican, but lost against Hutchinson. Emma ran against Percy Hutchinson and Mike Rickey, but as an independent. Emma Grebner became the first woman sheriff of Joe Daviess County by a mere 38 votes. She was dedicated to fight illegal gambling. Quote, "It is important to keep gambling out of the county for the protection of families." Mrs. Grebner had led a raid on 4 establishments in October of 1956, including 10 of her deputies in the Elks, Moose, Eagles, and the American Legion. All of the bartenders were arrested. Grebner and her deputies confiscated 13 slot machines. In an article, it states that while they were taking out the slot machines, there was a woman who would not leave a slot machine, so the woman got carried out with the machine. The only time Emma pulled out her gun was when her husband was kicked down the stairs by a suspect and others had gone down to advance on him. Sheriff Emma Grebner would rise to national fame, not for only being the first woman sheriff in Illinois or being on Whose Line Is It, but in the disappearance and murder of a 7-year-old Maria Rudolph. Maria went missing in December of 1957 near her Sycamore, Illinois home, and her body would be found 5 months later in Joe Daviess County. Sheriff Emma Grebner took lead in the local investigation with help from the FBI and Director J. Edgar Hoover. It was said that even President Eisenhower received daily briefings. Unfortunately, the murder would remain unsolved until 55 years later in 2013, with the arrest of Jack Tizer, age 72, the nation's longest cold case solved. February of 2016, our group presented this documentary at the regional contest. 2 months later, Jack Tizer's conviction was vacated and he was set free from prison. There is a possibility he could be retried. The nation's longest cold case solved. Just got colder. The role of the sheriff has not always been a safe role in Joe Daviess County. In 1915, during an investigation, Sheriff John Bardell was shot. And in the process, Richard Dwyer, who was his partner, accidentally shot him with a .32 caliber revolver. Even though things looked good, tragedy struck. Then it was said that Bardell had Bright's disease, and the wound aggravated this trouble, as which caused him to die. It was a shocking death for the county. His body was brought to Galena to hold a service for him on Sunday at Furlong Funeral Home. Several different places sent beautiful bouquets of flowers for his service. As time went by, the local sheriff office got more sophisticated and professional.
Well, after high school, I went on to Rock Valley College in Rockford, and I have an associate's degree from there in police science. And then I studied, took some classes at UW-Platteville in criminal justice. And then later in life, I went back to the University of Dubuque and became a non-traditional student and came away with a bachelor's degree in sociology with emphasis in criminal justice.
I have an associate degree through Northeast Iowa Community College. I did attend some other community colleges, but that's where I actually got my associate degree from. I also attended the University of Illinois, the Police Training Institute, where I have my basic law enforcement degree from there.
The life of a sheriff can be hard.
Back in about 1999, there were 2 young people that were killed. They were living on a farm between Scales Mound and Apple River, and they were killed on Father's Day of that year, and they were going to get married that August, and it was a horrible case. They were brutally murdered, and one of the young man, the victim, his brother works at the sheriff's office, and his fiance was the first cousin of one of our correctional officers. And I'll never forget that case as long as I live.
The toughest day that I had as sheriff, we had a jail suicide, and not knowing why the person actually committed suicide, we had to go notify the family member, so that was a really tough time for us for me at the sheriff's office.
But all in all, it can be a rewarding experience.
Being around people, meeting people, helping people, interaction with people from from the farmer on the out in his field or needing help, or the citizen on the street. It's just being around people and interacting with them. That's my number one reason that I like law enforcement so much.
My most rewarding day was when we actually got a confession about the Cheyenne Kersher case. It was an East Dubuque case that the girl ended up missing, and after about a year of her missing, we brought everybody back in and re-interviewed everybody, and we had a confession to the kidnap and murder of her.
From its roots in Old World England to present day of Joe Daviess County, the Sheriff's Office has been very important to our society. The sheriffs from Joe Daviess County, including the character Two-Gun Emma Grebner to John Bardell, have given their life to Joe Daviess County. The sheriffs of Joe Daviess County have served their constituents to straightforward and professional manner. The Joe Daviess County Sheriff's Department continues to provide security and reliability for the years to come.